What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark. I'm back at MovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about Cross, the new Amazon series based on Alex Cross. I've not watched the whole thing. As a matter of fact, I just wanted to talk about the pilot. It is a choice. I could wait. I could wait till I get through all 8 episodes. But honestly, there's a lot of TV going on, and honestly, I just want to talk about the pilot. I just want to talk about how they set up Alex Cross. You know, I think it's really important to talk about, you're taking a character and you're going to put him into a series. I think Amazon has given this an early season 2 renewal. I feel like I saw that. The show does have audio description, which is great. But is it worth your time? That's the question. And some important things we need to unpack here. Some of these things are going to seem like I'm making fun of the wrong things, but you know what? That's life. This is a rabbit hole I'm going to go down, and humor intended to aim at certain things, I guess. Beware. I'm going to talk about certain things that may come across as being like, what are you trying to say? I'm trying to say exactly what I just said, but follow the rabbit to the end of the review, I guess, if you start. So, Alex Cross. This is the 3rd time that we've seen him adapted with a new actor. The first time we saw him was with Morgan Freeman in Kiss the Girls, which was, and still is, the best iteration of Alex Cross. Just go ahead and play that hand as to think, oh, maybe he likes this series the best. No. Unfortunately, Morgan Freeman is a goat. You know, and greatest of all time. And you just cannot. Kiss the Girls is actually a really good movie. And with some genuine, if nobody's ever seen it, some genuine twists. So there's a reason why everybody got interested in Alex Cross. And there's a reason why they tried to make another film with him, Along Came a Spider, which didn't quite work as well. I remember they had like some weird web browser. That's the funny thing that always stands out to me about Along Came a Spider is I remember seeing it visually, and it was like they couldn't pay anybody on the internet to use real websites. So somebody had to like design what looked like websites, but they were really bad. like they couldn't use Google or Yahoo or anything like that. So they used some weird fake ass website that just looked really bad. And as like the search engine. And then we went years, and then Tyler Perry was like, well, I want to be Alex Cross. So he was Alex Cross. And then that didn't work out. That's the worst. See, this is the middle of the 3, because Tyler Perry's version is still, I don't know what happened. Most people don't. But if you've seen things like Mea Culpa, you kind of understand. When he gets out of his faith-based films and starts trying to get into like weird psychosexual thriller type things, he just, I don't know. It's like being trapped inside church for 20 years and then suddenly all of it, like the one day you're let out, instantly somebody shows you porn, and like that's your whole representation of sex from there on. You know, it's like that's the only thing you've ever seen, and then that's what you do. It just feels like you're so walled in and you know nothing else, and then somebody shows you like the hyper on the other end of things, and then you're trying to battle with like almost like you don't know enough in the middle. Like there's no so it feels like he goes from Medea to like the other end of things, and you're just like, is there a mid for you? Anyway, so with Cross, we have Aldous Hodge, appropriately a TV star. So they didn't swing for the fences here and try to bring somebody in, some higher, although would have been totally interesting and would have been super cool. Nothing against Aldous Hodge, but let's be honest. Idris Elba's got a TV show on Apple, you know? I mean, you could get somebody and am I saying I would have loved to see Idris Elba tackle Alex Cross? I mean, it's basically Luther, but sure. So do I think that there are actors in this day and age that are tackling these streaming shows? Absolutely, I do. I absolutely believe that there are big names that are willing to jump into a streaming series. But when you think about maybe like where the Lincoln Lawyer is and where Bosch is with like Titus Welliver, Aldous Hodge feels like adjacent to Titus Welliver, so it doesn't feel like it's that big of a stretch. Alan Ritchson was not, yes, he'd been in some movies, but he's not a huge film star. So it's appropriate. And he plays Alex Cross, and we are introduced. I've only seen the first episode. I cannot spoil anything more for you than that. I just want you to know from the bottom of my heart with all truth, I'm only spoiling anything that's in the first episode. There are 8 of them. So, and I'm not even going to spoil the entire first episode. So while there are spoilers here, they're only for the first episode of this series, because this is likely to go on for more than one season. So the thing opens with Alex hanging out with some friends, and there's some gunshots, and he runs outside, and there's a woman dying. It's his wife. She's been shot. And we cut, and it's like a year later, and we didn't really know anything about Alex before, like after that. So he's at work. Later on, we'll pick up on the fact that he has a family, like he has kids. But there really isn't enough to establish that at the beginning. I guess people who read the novels would know that, but you know, they could put Alex Cross at any point in time. So just because you read a book where Alex had kids doesn't necessarily mean the series has to do that part of Alex Cross. So Alex is at work, and he sees some other people who are trying to interrogate this cocky racist who they don't necessarily have any physical evidence on, but they're like 99.9 sure he did the crime, and he's sort of taunting them, and he just keeps throwing these racist barbs at this other black detective, and eventually he gets his goat, and the black detective, you know, lunges at him or whatever, and they're like, you gotta cool it off. And Alex, I guess, has been listening the whole time, and he goes in there and he's like, he's already revealed himself. I got this. Hold my beer. So he goes in, and this random redneck character that's in there who's like, I'm smarter than you because it's just genetics, you know, those kind of things. It goes there. It's a very racistly overtoned thing. So Alex Cross goes with, well, then that must mean my dick is bigger than yours. And I was like, oh, we're going there with Alex Cross, the brilliant PhD educated Alex Cross. And he also mentions later on, he's like, I do this like once a week when you assholes comes in here, and it always goes to, my dick is bigger than yours. You know, it's like, and I was thinking, does it really? Does Alex Cross just use that all the time? And I'm like, I'm thinking of, like, you know, Morgan Freeman. I'm like, would I have heard Morgan Freeman's Alex Cross say that before? I don't think so. Maybe. Is this accurate to the book? James Patterson fans, does he talk about his dick a lot in the books? But for somebody who is at the level at which he's at, I wanted more. You know, and by the way, the thing that he uses on him is bullshit. It's like, he's like, I already got you. And he pulls out, I guess the redneck guy, racist guy said, he's got some, he quoted Shakespeare, and it's like a quote from Shakespeare that's references guilt. And I'm like, we already got you. You already confessed. That's an admission of guilt. I got a prosecutor outside. First of all, he doesn't. But then it doesn't really, like, show the racist, like, you know, like, with that explosive moment, like, that bitch had it coming to her, you know, like, nothing happens. We just cut, and he just leaves. I'm like, no, that's not a thing. No jury is going to convict him because he quoted, like, Macbeth. Like, Do you have any physical evidence? No. What do you have? He quoted Macbeth in the interrogation room. Well, fuck it. Let's electric chair. You know, like let's do it. But he just he like walks off. He's like, you quoted Macbeth. I have you. You're mine. Okay. That's a bit of a stretch. But I would have laughed if it had been me in that chair. I would have been like, no prosecutor is going to go, let's use resources to be like, how do you know he's guilty? Well, he quoted Shakespeare. He must be guilty. You can be guilty, an admission of guilt of literally anything. I could be feeling guilt for anything. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's such an easy thing. Like a drunk lawyer could win that case on his first day after winning the bar. So that's the introduction to the wonderful mind that is Alex Cross. And then from there, we get such wonderful scenes. We are shown a villain who is potentially interesting. He seems to be trying to copy, and recreate like other killers. So he's finding people, you don't necessarily know too much about it, but it does sort of show you, he had like a picture of the DC sniper, and then like his first victim, you know, Alex notices, you know, he cut the dude's hair off and that kind of thing. He force-fed him a meal that doesn't fit. I mean, he does notice things that you're like, okay, well, he's a step ahead. But the thing about Alex Cross at this point is that they didn't paint him as somebody who should be a step ahead. At this point, he's like a legend. There's a thing where he gets brought onto this case by his boss, who's like, I need you on this case. This, you know, political activist was killed, and they think it, you know, the public is really upset, and they, you know, there are rumors that it could have been a hit job from the police, corrupt police or something like that. And he's like, they trust you, they know you. And like, he's famous. Like, think about your area and think about, do you know a famous detective in your area? Like, is there one? Is there a random police officer? Because remember, he's not the chief of police. He's not the person you vote for. Like, sometimes you vote for the person who runs for sheriff. You know what I'm saying? That person, sometimes you know. He's not sheriff. He's just a detective, and yet he's famous. So the only way you get there is by amassing a series of cases, almost like James Patterson's books that he's written about Alex Cross. So this is late stage Alex Cross. This is Alex Cross at its finest. And so he needs to act like he is 20 steps ahead of everybody. And what would make this show interesting would be if we saw, you have to set him up as being so fucking smart that like, you're just like, damn. You know, I mean, this show needed writers. This show needed to get this writing team, hire them and then fire them. And then find people who are like, I don't know, sitting around thinking about like crazy conspiracy theories and like trying to like solve like enigma puzzles and stuff like that. Because you need that level to be able to operate at Alex's level. You need shit that just feels like it's so, you know, like he looks at you and he just sees you, he sees your soul. Like he's able to pick up from the smallest detail and read into it. And he, you know, you need an actual psychologist at the writing table to be able to use his psychology degree to be able to like break down and be like, well, because I have this PhD, this is where it comes in useful. They didn't really do that. They just kind of feel like he's just like a cocky asshole walking through life. Like, I'm better than everybody. And then occasionally he's got a scene like where they talk about the last meal this dude had. And he's like, you know, he's a Muslim and they never would have. And the reason why is because he's Muslim. And I was like, you know what? You know who's doing that? Caitlin Olsen on High Potential. You know? That... This is... You're not elevating Alex Cross. You're not doing anything more than other series do with people who are like high-functioning detectives. Unfortunately, the networks are already doing this. There's like The Irrational, with Jesse Martin. I mean, those people are already at this level. They would have, both of those detectives that I mentioned that are on fairly new network shows would have made the same conclusion. They would have been like, well, he's Muslim. He wouldn't have eaten pork. Somebody made him eat pork. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not, it doesn't feel like the kind of like, holy shit moment that you're, you know, and he needs a lot of those. I would have, there's a lot of like sneaking around in the house and there's this like dark figure and like a moment where they're like, oh no, is he going to jump out of the closet at this poor girl, you know, stuff like that. And he's like, no, you just need to build up Alex Cross at this point because you've chosen to put him at late stage Alex Cross instead of beginning stage Alex Cross. Rookie Alex Cross would have been really interesting. Like day one Alex Cross, where he just comes in, maybe he's got the degree and he's learning the ropes. That's interesting. That's a great place. But if you're going to choose to put him on a pedestal, he has to earn that pedestal. And he did not earn that pedestal in this pilot. The dude doesn't even have a security system on his house. There's the bad guy who's always like cloaked in shadow or whatever and like to try to hide whoever this is. Breaks into his house in the first episode. No alarm system. Like the dude doesn't even have to disable an alarm system. He just walks in. Just breaks in really easily, you know? And then the reason why, how I know, you're like, but John, you're blind. Maybe the audio description didn't tell you. No, because they have to have a scene where he fucking installs one after that. So this guy is a famous detective in DC. You know he's pissed off criminals. You know he's had people arrested. And he doesn't even have a basic fucking alarm. He doesn't have cameras. He has nothing. His house is just a fucking house. But yet he's so famous that he can like go on TV and do PR speeches for this, for this boss of his. No, the show does not work. It does not work. Unfortunately, I don't think the writers are strong enough to actually push this through 8 episodes, which is sad because Aldous Hodge is a good actor and he deserves the opportunity to do this role. But they're never going to make him seem like the Alex Cross that they're trying to sell us. He's already behind. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he's already not where he's supposed to be. Like, Morgan Freeman would come out, if there was like a multiverse, he would jump out of his portal and he would own this version of Alex Cross. You know, this is not as smart of an Alex Cross as he's supposed to be. And that's where the show is disappointing, is because you feel that in like pretty much every single scene that he's in, is that he's not noticing things. He's not pointing things out. He's not 10 steps ahead. He doesn't have his head on a swivel. He's too cocky. He's too brazen. The writers are not good enough. They don't arrive at an interesting conclusion. They're not willing to twist and turn. There were things about Presumed Innocent that I wasn't a fan of. But I gotta say, by the end of it, when they actually revealed what had happened, like who the killer actually was, I was intrigued. Like, I was like floored by that. Because they had gone to painstaking trouble to throw you in every which direction, and to make it seem like a host of people were possible of doing it. And then it seemed like the person who was least likely ended up being. And those are the kind of writers that you need for something like this. You need somebody who's looking from 7 different angles all the time and who writes from the ending, you know what I'm saying? And then writes their way out of it and then goes back and it's like, well, how do we make this interesting? How do we get here? And I don't see that. I don't see how this necessarily, honestly, Reacher has more of that. Alan Ritchson's Reacher feels smarter and more observant than Alex Cross does, which is sad because Alex is the one with the PhD. Reacher's just a soldier who's really good at being a soldier and is really smart and a good leader and stuff like that. And he's, you know, he's definitely functioning above average. I'm not trying to take that away from Jack Reacher at all. Same thing with Lincoln Lawyer. Like, he feels like he notices some things and he's a little bit ahead, and that's fine. But Mickey still has some things, you know. They didn't put Mickey at the top of his game either, you know. In Lincoln Lawyer, he's not just dominating as a lawyer. They didn't put him, but they've chosen to do that with Alex Cross. They've chosen to make him this icon for DC, which is a big city, to be an icon. And if you're going to do that, he has to earn it. And he had to earn it by solving so many cases and being the smartest guy in the room. And he doesn't feel like that at all. I thought the audio description was fine, but the audio description for series like this, you don't really know until you get to the end. So I wouldn't comment overly much about the audio description. There was some attention to detail. I liked, for example, when she picks up the running shoes, they mentioned running shoes. They could have just said shoes, but indicated that she needed to go do something athletic. So it actually shapes the character even more, because people don't just come home and get running shoes for shits and giggles. The scarf, the specificity of the color of the scarf, which actually factored into the, like, he was kind of being zoned out, but there was like the teacher that was saying like, well, he brought it to school and we told him you can't have that color and blah, blah, blah. So like the color was somehow important. It wasn't that he couldn't just have a scarf. It was the specific color of scarf was illegal at school. I don't know. It felt like it was just a way for Alex to see the scarf that he was never going to see otherwise. And that also is problematic, because if Alex is not going to see the scarf otherwise, then again, how is he the smartest guy in the room? You're taking this guy and you have to establish him first. This is the beginning of the show. We have to see him smart to then see him defeated. If we're going to see him struggling to catch this killer, you have to establish that he is so good. I would have taken the first episode and had him on some bullshit case that seems completely different. You know what I'm saying? Something that has no bearing to the rest of the season, and never had him interact with the killer. Never had him interact with whoever is going to be episodes 2 through 8, and just establish him on one case and show sort of as a standalone how smart Alex is, and then build from there. And you have to do that, otherwise the series doesn't work. I don't know how many people are going to watch this. So, sorry, sports fans. I'm not a giant fan of Cross, at least at the pilot stage. And I'm not confident enough in the writers to believe that they're going to pull it through in episodes 2 through 8 to where this is necessarily going to be a series where I'm like, wow, man, they really blew my mind with that one. So, yeah, I'm going to give Cross a C+. And that's disappointing. So, thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.